Hello, so this is DevLog6 now. At this point in time, I've made the first two levels, I've swapped out all of the assets to be actual models and things like that, and also I've done a playtest, so I kind of got a little bit of feedback and I'm planning to implement some of that soon. In fact, I've already implemented one thing, which I'll show you later on. However, there will be a separate video fully dedicated to my playtest. So, first of all, I'll show you the assets I've swapped out. So you can see in this scene, like the torches are now towers, the door is now an actual gate, ice looks like ice, enemies are, well, they've got a ranged enemy, so this one just has the projectile spawner attached to it, and it has two bows. This one's got a sword because it's the melee one, so he just does melee. This one is just a bat that moves up and down. Checkpoints are now signified with a bed. Added lava, which just hurts you over time, kind of thing. Pickups are health. Health pickups are now apples. I also added this for a kill zone just to make one level look a little bit nicer. Because I will admit my levels are not the nicest looking things, but they get the job done. Damage walls now look like this. All different platform types have different attributes. So like that's spinning, I believe this one's moving. This one's the braking platform. The kill wall, I've got it, oh sorry, this is the swapping damage wall, but it swaps between the two colours. This is where I've taken some feedback. So you can see here, it doesn't have any borders or anything, so when it turns off, you can't really tell when the other one's supposed to be. Now I'll show you in, I believe it's in level 2. Yeah. If I start the game and go back to the scene. There you go. I've added borders around it, because that was one thing in playtest people said it was unclear when it swapped, or you didn't know where it was coming. So I added borders, so you always know, oh, the red one's going to come in this zone, the yellow one's going to come in this zone. So it works a lot better now, and that's one of the fixes I've made from playtest. That's the only one I've made so far, the rest will probably be implemented next week though. Okay, so I guess next I'll show you the levels. I will admit they're not the best levels in the world, but they function and they work with everything I've got. I've used most of the assets except for the jump swap platform. The reason I'm not using this is it just doesn't work. It used to. I haven't changed the code at all, but now whenever you land on it, it doesn't count that as grounded. I think it's because when I changed the animations, it must have affected something in that. But I've got no clue what it was, and I don't know how to fix it. And frankly, I don't have time to fix it at this point in development, so I've just had to scrap that feature. But again, you can see here I also added borders to this, so if it did work, I would have used that. So I guess I'll show you level 1. Let's start playing it. So when you spawn in, there's the bed, and here's a jump pad over here. You can see there's a bit of a tutorial for a jump. That was the idea of that. Just, you can't die there. Use the jump pad. And here's just some basic platforming. You will see that obviously the platforms are just kind of suspended, which isn't the nicest looking thing in the world, but again, with the time I have, I just don't have time to make it look nice. And again, it does kind of replicate Tori 3D, which is one of my big inspirations. You can also see here, when you got here, the bed was red because you didn't mark it yet. But now I've activated it, it goes green. So that's just a little bit of visual imagery for the player to kind of be like, oh, okay, I've activated this now. So I know I've got the checkpoint, like the flags in Mario Maker kind of thing. I do also plan to add sound to it because that's one thing that is still missing from the game. Okay, so it's like a really simple, like basically moving platform tutorial. This is all breaking platforms. So you can see I've got them on here and they start breaking, but the player might miss that. So then I added a wall of platforms here that you have to jump up. The player's more likely to notice them here because they might take their time and they'll see it. I will say, to be honest, these aren't much of a threat. They don't tend to break. They are in some of the faster moving sections because I do have some sort of chase sequences, but at this point they're not really a threat. They are, as you can see, the chase sequence over there with the big red wall. I then got bats, which they don't stop your jump, but they just damage you. So if I jump through this. And the reason they're all there is because hopefully the player will take damage and they'll see this box. I'll smash it and they'll get a health pickup. Now this section is like a little bit more. It's very simple, but the idea is it'll show them more about... Oh, I didn't put the platform attached on the platform. Oh, I missed that. I thought I did. Yeah, I did lose one save last night, so I think that would have been where it went. Because when I did playtest, that did have an attach. Just to speed things up, I'm just going to move the character over here and just add the platform attach to all of them. Just to, like I say, speed things up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. It's not got a character attached to it because of the reset. Okay, I'll just move the platform. And where is Kaiju? I'll just search that as well. There you go. Hopefully that's working now. Yeah, sorry about that. That might be the same in level 2. I'll check before we start playing that one. But yeah, especially this level is designed to be very simple and just kind of a tutorial. So again, like this section is just jumping between moving platforms, and it's got very generous timings. But it feels kind of cool and fast, so I think that will interest players because they're like, oh, I'm moving really fast. And they'll think it's more challenging than it actually is. Because in reality, this is not challenging at all. Now, this is the most challenging section so far. So, there is an object here which will spawn a kill wall, and you will have noticed in the sprint I had that there was going to be chase sequences. Frankly, I just didn't have time to actually add those in, especially in a way where the camera would turn around. I've implemented them in a different way, where, I've got these wall obstacles. So I'm going to lower this platform. I think I'll pick stuff on that on the playtest, but this is really annoying to jump onto. I'll sort that out later. But yeah, so these are the chase sequences essentially, where you're running away from the wall coming towards you. But you're also locked in so you can't go too fast. So it adds a bit of pressure to the player. It's the first real challenging aspect of the game. Again, it's not very hard, it's only the first level, but it makes it a bit more interesting. And then you've got this part where it intentionally slows you down. And I died. Again, just speed it up. I do think these platforms need to move down. They are way too high. Player can't actually get on them. Yeah, I'll sort out later. I'll just show you kind of how it goes from here. So like I said, the idea is these platforms move up and down. Just move that down here. This player would then go across all of this and get to the other side, and the kill wall will stop. I think it's about here. It doesn't go all the way to here, so you get like a little bit of rest, but the player will still be pretty desperate because they don't have time to turn around and check. You then have this, which is just a really simple end to the level, and then you head up here, and that's another thing because the level didn't save, but there is an endpoint here normally, but again, because I lost a bit of a save, that's not there, but that's easy enough. I just drag in the prefab of level end and it'll be fine. Okay, so here's level 2. Okay, so this one adds ice physics, so it's like a snow theme level. You will notice the art style looks a little bit different here. It's still blocky and cube based, but unfortunately there were not many voxel packs. I mean, I even spent money to actually buy these packs, but there just weren't any that consistently went together, unfortunately. And I wanted to have the levels at least slightly themed to make them a bit more interesting. But yeah, so not the nicest thing in the world, but yeah, it's what it is. Oops. Like I said, you can see I've got kill zones and stuff like that set up as well. Here I introduce enemies, and you'll notice they're not animated, which isn't great, I know, but I'm not particularly an animator, and secondly, again, just don't have time to do that kind of level of polish, unfortunately. They have the moving platform on them, so they just move left and right, and if you walk into them, they hurt you, and they start the melee cooldown I set up before. You can punch them, and you can shoot them. I'll show you on this one. Oops. Oh, I'm pretty bad at my own game here. There you go. So you can like shoot them, or you can just finish them off like jumping into them. There's a little bit of precision platforming, and I missed. Fell on the spikes. Oh yeah, the way checkpoints work is they don't fully reload the scene, so any progress you've made does save, so enemies will stay there and stuff. So I had to design the game around doing that. I will note that these have physics on as well to make them a little bit slippier. That's why I'm doing so bad. I did so well yesterday. Here's this guy who shoots at you. He just moves left and right as well. I kind of put him just blocking this, so I kind of set you up for him ready. Now, I made these platforms bigger than the last ones, but again, they've got the ice physics on. They're very slippy. I think this will pose a decent challenge to players, and it also has something they've already done. Now, the reason I have a kill zone here, but don't in like other sections, is that I just felt like it looked a bit kind of weird with these pillars just coming out of the ground, whereas other bits, that looks consistently, over here that just looks consistently like floating, which I think is fine, but it just looked weird having these really small towers, so I added those in. And the level actually transitions into a bit of a warm aesthetic here. So you've got lava and things. The reason I did this is I just thought, again, it just makes the level look a bit more different and unique and varied. So I slapped this here, and because I'm going to have to realistically cut level 4, which I originally planned to make, I just don't have time to do that. But yeah, if you go in lava, it'll die over time again. So let's do this. This is a pretty simple platforming section, but the next bit's pretty cool. At least I'm happy with the next bit. So yeah, like I say, this bit's quite simple. But it introduces a new mechanic, which is the spinning bridges. They're basically just normal platforms, but they spin around. You follow them. You know, they're neat. They're not anything special. Now this is where the kill wall swaps come in. Like I say, you can see the changes here. So when you jump, the walls will swap. And this section is quite challenging. I got a lot of feedback about this part being too challenging. So I'm likely to change and fix some of that. But right now, it works like this. I made these very generous platforms because, again, I heard it was too challenging, so I did rebalance that a little bit. Oh, I jumped into it. But yeah, the best way to do this bit is just to take it slow and steady. And one bit of feedback I did take from it being too challenging was I did add a checkpoint halfway through this section. I was actually about to get it as well, unfortunately. Yeah, I'll just show you. It's probably easier. I have checked, and you can beat these levels without dying. I don't know, maybe I'm just camera shy. I don't know. But you can do it. But yeah, so you then get to here, where you have these 2 spinning platforms, and then the checkpoints here. You then platform along these, another spinning platform, another moving one that comes towards you. You then make a pretty far away jump to this, and then onto the ice. And this part, because the ice speeds you up a little bit because of the physics, it makes for a really cool jump kind of chase sequence where you jump over the bats, and then right into the end of the level. So yeah, that's what I've got so far. This week took me a lot longer to work on than expected. I thought this would take, like, I don't know, 3-4 hours to put together, maybe. Ended up taking about 10, maybe even 12. Which is why I've just hit level 4, because I just frankly don't have time. With polishing up the boss fight, as well as making a 3rd level, I just can't. There's no way I could fit it in. So next week, the plan is to implement some of the feedback I got into my game, whatever I can put in, at the very least. Rebalance the level slightly, so say some bits are a bit too challenging. Finish level 3, or make level 3. Polish the boss fight, and finally just add sounds, because I just don't, because I've just got no time to do anything else. Any polish I can add, I will, but with my other modules, it's just not super likely. So yeah, it's coming along. It'll be finished, but it's definitely not my best work. It's probably one of my more ambitious things in a sense, even though a lot of it's very simple. The fact it's in 3D and all the animations and things, it's fairly ambitious and all the different systems in that sense, but they're just simple things that you just snap together. There's no real complexity or interlocking systems or anything like that. It's just a generic 3D platformer, unfortunately, and I don't have any time to make it more than that. So yeah, that's the end of DevLog 5, but next week will be the last devlog, and hopefully things are looking up then. I'll say that much. Cool. Well, that's it for now.